Hi, I'm Scott Jasgur, and this is my lovely bride, Sonia Bruckner, and together we live in beautiful Lake Arrowhead, California, and we're Emerald Executives with MonaVie. We've been drinking MonaVie for almost 2 years now, and we've never felt better. Now, that having been said, that's not in spite of some very serious challenges. Let me begin with some background here. I'm retired from the fire department. Now, here's kind of a cool picture. They say if you look into the fire, sometimes you can actually see the dragon. Do you see the dragon's head to our left as he kind of is turning to look directly at us? A little spooky, isn't it? For 28 years, I was a firefighter, a paramedic, a flight medic, a search and rescue canine handler, and the training officer for the fire department. There's another shot of the old fire. Those are 150 to 200 foot trees. It's right up here in the San Bernardino Mountains by Santa's Village. On the right, there's Bogey, my search and rescue canine, as we're rappelling into a canyon. Of all the things I've done, I think I've been most blessed to be able to pass on my experience to others. You see, for example, as a paramedic, I was able to help people one at a time and would only be able to help a finite number of people. But as the training officer for the fire department, I was able to teach others what I have learned so that they can do what I have done. By passing my experience, my knowledge to hundreds of others who were able to help untold thousands, indirectly I was touching thousands of lives. But the most defining moment I've ever had came one day as a flight medic. See, I was a guy that would jump out of the back of the helicopter as we landed on freeways and schools and streets or wherever. It was a Sunday afternoon. A young couple had gone skiing for their honeymoon. On their way home, the newlywed couple pulled into a large turnout, and as he was taking off the chain, she stood in front of the car looking at the spectacular view of the valley below. A truck coming down the road lost control, swerved into the turnout, and rear-ended the newlywed's car, slamming into her, breaking her back and paralyzing her. All in the blink of an eye. Think of all the lives that were changed, not just her life, but her husband, the truck driver, the people in the turnout that witnessed it, the first responders who in that area are all volunteers, people just like you, all the caregivers, all the family, every one of their lives changed in that split second. As we flew back to base, I became overwhelmed with a rush of emotions, of memories, of how fragile life really is, of how precious life is, and how life can change in the blink of an eye. Do you remember where you were Valentine's Day? I do. Guys, do you remember? Trust me, just nod your head. Nod your head up and down, yes. Otherwise, your life may change in the blink of an eye. But okay, it was Valentine's Day 2008, okay? And Sonia and I went to the doctor. And that's when our lives, ladies and gentlemen, changed in the blink of an eye. Our lives changed with two words: pancreatic cancer. Two words that changed our lives forever. Then the doctor started to tell me what that really meant. Most commonly, a person diagnosed with pancreatic cancer has between 6 weeks and 6 months. I took a very, very deep breath. I looked at her and said, okay. She looked at us and said, well, the 1-year survival rate is about 20%. Again, I looked at her and said, and? She continued, said the 5-year survival rate is only 5%. And after that, it's only 1%. Without hesitation, I looked her right in the eye and I held out my hand. As she shook my hand, I said, Dr. Shoudharry, I'm Scott Jasgur. I'm your 1%er. Now what do we do? You see, I never saw myself as a cancer victim or even a cancer patient. From that very first moment, I saw myself as a cancer survivor. Well, what happened next? Only 10% of patients are even surgical candidates for what's called a Whipple procedure, and I was lucky enough to be one of those 10%. Now what they did is they removed most of my pancreas, my gallbladder, part of my stomach, part of my small intestines, and my duodenum. That's the part that connects your stomach to your small intestines. Okay. Now generally a Whipple procedure is a 6 to 8 hour operation with 2 days in the ICU and 2 to 3 weeks in the hospital. Mine, however, was no ordinary operation. My procedure was complicated and complex. It was involved in way more than anticipated. My surgery lasted 13 and a half hours. 13 and a half hours and over 23 liters of fluid. Now, remember, I had been drinking MonaVie for almost 2 years now, In other words, feeding my body incredible nutrition. 13 and a half hours, 23 plus liters of fluid, and I was up and around and walking in less than 24 hours, and here I am, 36 hours post-op. Now remember, most people with a 6 to 8 hour surgery will spend between 2 and 3 weeks in the hospital. On day 5, I had my surgeon, who is the diplomat of oncology surgery at Loma Linda University, along with the chief of anesthesiology, 2 other surgeons, and I think the attending as well, all trying to find a reason to keep me. You see, because no one had ever left the hospital in only 5 days after a Whipple, let alone one as complicated as this, was not a medically justifiable reason to keep me. And they actually did. They discharged me after only 5 days in the hospital. 5 days after a 13 and a half hour surgery. But that was only the beginning, folks. Soon after surgery, I began a regimen of chemotherapy and radiation therapy for 5 days, then rest 2 days, then 5 days again, then rest 2 days for 6 weeks total. I had a 2-week break and then started daily oral chemotherapy and weekly high-dose IV chemotherapy by infusion, by IV infusion. As of today, I've completed almost half of a 6-month treatment plan, and look at me. This is a picture of me last week. I know most of you know someone who has cancer, or for that matter, who's gone through chemotherapy and or radiation, and I've gone through both, and am currently going through high-dose chemotherapy. 2 different regimens of chemotherapy. Do they look like me? Do they have the energy I do? Can they keep the kind of schedule I do? Do they have the healing and rejuvenative abilities that I do? Folks, they draw my blood every week before giving me my IV infusion, frankly, to make sure that I can handle it. My blood chemistry is so consistently good, I'm not even anemic. Even the infusion nurses at the university are asking questions, and yes, they're drinking MonaVie now too. You see, with all my heart, I believe that there are 3 reasons for my remarkable recovery and outlook. Number 1, my mindset. From the moment I was diagnosed, I always saw myself as a cancer survivor. Number 2, Sonia, my partner, my best friend, my rock, Sonia, and my MonaVie family. You see, MonaVie is more than about drinking the juice. It's about family. On that fateful Valentine's Day, it was not just Sonia and my life that changed in the blink of an eye. It was our entire family, our friends, and our MonaVie family. And third, MonaVie. You see, I believe it is nutrition I've been giving my body with these 19 incredible fruits from around the world. It's nutrition that I could not have gotten anywhere else. There's now no doubt on my mind, or Sonia's mind, that my strength, my unheard of recovery, and my resilience to my current treatments are a direct result of my being so well nourished and by drinking MonaVie. That's a lifestyle change you can live with. I've been blessed with the opportunity to share MonaVie with thousands and thousands of people. Remember my passion for teaching, as the people I was able to touch would be infinite if I could share my experience and my journey with enough people. Well, so be it here with MonaVie. When I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, my MonaVie family was as devastated as we were and stood right there behind. When I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, my MonaVie family was as devastated as we were and stood right there beside us. The outpouring of love, energy, and prayers was incredible. Folks, never underestimate the power of prayer, the power of thought, and the energy. It was what got me through my recovery so quickly. If there's one thing I would like to leave you with from this journey I've been on, it's this. Since my diagnosis, we've made a lot of lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes we all know about. Well, we eat better. Do we buy all organic, but we've planted our own garden as well? We juice every day. We exercise every day. We laugh every day. And of course, we drink our MonaVie every day. These are lifestyle changes we could all make, but most of us are not willing to. Heck, in fact, a year ago, we weren't willing to either. But MonaVie, drinking 2 ounces in the morning and 2 ounces in the evening, is not only a lifestyle change you can live with, after all, it tastes great, but more important, the nutrition MonaVie can give your body, well, that is a lifestyle change you can live with.